All right, cheese lovers. Looks like we've got a real treat in store for us today.
Oh, yeah?
We're diving deep into the world of Parmigiano Reggiano.
Specifically.
And even more specifically, those amazing dairies you can actually visit in Italy.
Yes.
Our listener is about to head off on a real cheese pilgrimage.
Lucky them.
And they've got a pretty awesome list of recommendations straight from Emilia Delizia. We're talking the ultimate Parmigiano Reggiano experience.
Absolutely. The source, the heart of it all.
So let's get right to it. We've got 5 dairies on our list.
5.
All in the heart of Emilia-Romagna.
The heartland.
For Madon Caseificio dell'Emilia in Modena, Azienda Agricola Moscatini in Formigine,
Okay.
Reggiani Roberto in Castelfranco Emilia,
Got it.
Caseificio Basanese in Bazzano,
All right.
and finally Caseificio Rossola di Zocca in Zocca.
Makes sense.
Each one seems to offer a totally different glimpse into the world of Parmesan making.
And each with their own charm.
I'm already intrigued.
Me too.
So first up, for Madame.
For Madame.
I've heard some pretty impressive things about this one.
Yes.
Like it's the real deal when it comes to Parmigiano Reggiano.
Well, you've heard correctly. They're practically royalty in the Parmesan world.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Not just esteemed. They've consistently won the Golden Cheese Wheel Award.
Wow.
That's a testament to their dedication to quality and tradition.
The gold standard, then.
You could say that.
So what makes them so special?
Well, for one thing, their aging rooms are like these massive cheese cathedrals.
Oh, wow.
Climate-controlled havens dedicated to crafting the perfect Parmigiano Reggiano.
I can practically smell it now.
It's something else.
Rows and rows of giant cheese wheels just basking in perfect conditions.
It's a cheese lover's dream.
It really is. So tell me more about this aging process.
Sure.
What's the science behind it all?
Well, imagine a microscopic ballet happening inside each wheel.
Okay.
Enzymes like chymosin get to work breaking down proteins,
Specifically.
casein into amino acids.
Those are the building blocks of flavor.
Exactly. And as they interact over time,
What happens?
they develop those nutty, savory notes we associate with a perfectly aged Parmesan.
I see.
And for Madon's dedication to controlling temperature and humidity,
Right.
that allows this process to unfold in a truly masterful way.
So it's not just about time, it's about creating the perfect environment.
Precisely an environment where those flavors can blossom.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I bet those aging rooms are a sight to behold.
Oh, they truly are. The aroma alone is intoxicating.
Okay, next up.
Let's move on to something a little more intimate.
Right.
Azienda Agricola Moscatini in Formigine.
Okay, Moscatini.
This place is all about personalized experiences.
I did notice they emphasize intimate tours.
Yes.
Does that mean they're a smaller operation?
Exactly. Moscatini is a family-run dairy.
Oh, cool.
Their tours are designed to give you a real feel for the passion and dedication
I liked.
that goes into each wheel.
So you're really getting up close and personal.
You're likely to be rubbing elbows with the cheesemakers themselves.
Now that's what I call getting your hands cheesy. So we've got esteemed and intimate.
What a combo.
What's next on the list?
Next, we have Reggiani Roberto in Castelfranco Emilia,
Reggiani Roberto.
a dairy that prides itself on time-honored techniques.
Time-honored techniques, eh? Does that mean they're still using some ancient tools or methods?
You bet. Think hand-stirred copper cauldrons,
Wow.
traditional cheese molds, and a deep understanding of the subtle cues
I see.
that guide each step of the process.
So they're really keeping those traditions alive.
Absolutely. They might even be sourcing their milk from specific breeds of cows.
Really?
You know, the ones known for producing the ideal milk for Parmigiano Reggiano.
Wow. It's fascinating how each dairy has such a distinct personality.
Isn't it?
It's not just about the cheese.
That's about the story.
the heritage, the people behind it.
Exactly.
Now tell me about Caseificio Basanese in Bazzano.
Okay, Basanese.
What makes them stand out?
Basanese is all about location, location, location.
Okay.
Nestled in this picturesque town, their dairy seems to absorb the beauty of the surrounding landscape.
Wait, really? I thought cheese was all about milk and aging.
It is, but believe it or not,
What?
that scenery actually plays a role in the cheese-making process.
How so?
It's all about the terroir.
Terroir.
Yes, the climate, the soil,
Uh-huh.
even the types of plants growing nearby.
Okay.
All these can subtly influence the flavor of the milk.
Interesting.
Cows grazing on lush pastures in a region with specific climatic conditions.
Right.
They produce milk with a unique character,
And that translates to...
a distinct taste in the final cheese.
So when you taste Basanese's Parmigiano Reggiano...
You're also tasting a bit of the landscape, the essence of that specific place.
That's pretty cool. Okay, last but not least,
Caseificio Rosola di Zocca.
what's their story?
Rosola di Zocca is where tradition meets innovation.
Interesting.
They're known for experimenting with new techniques and technologies,
While still.
honoring the heritage of Parmigiano Reggiano.
So they're pushing the boundaries a bit.
You could say that they even have workshops where you can try your hand at making cheese yourself.
Workshops, you say. Okay, you've officially piqued my interest.
I thought you might be.
What kind of innovation are we talking about here?
It could be anything from using modern equipment,
Uh-huh.
to carefully monitor the aging process,
Makes sense.
or exploring different aging techniques to potentially create new flavor profiles.
So they're walking a tightrope between tradition and progress.
Exactly. And it's fascinating to see how they're pushing the boundaries.
I have to admit, of all these dairies,
Yeah,
Rosola di Zocca is the one I'm most curious about.
I can see why.
Blending tradition and innovation, getting hands-on with the cheese-making process.
It's unique.
It sounds like a truly unique experience.
It certainly does.
Mm.
Each of these dairies offers a different lens
Right.
through which to appreciate Parmigiano Reggiano.
Absolutely.
But have any of them particularly caught your eye so far?
Honestly, they've all sparked my curiosity in different ways.
In what way?
Well, Parmesan, with their meticulous aging,
Right.
Moschettini's intimate family operation,
Ah,
Reggiani Roberto's dedication to tradition,
yes.
Bazzani's connection to the land,
I'd.
and Rosola di Zocca's innovative spirit.
I see.
It's like a cheesy buffet of experiences. But I am especially drawn to the idea of witnessing those massive aging rooms at Formidon.
Oh,
It's one thing to hear about it,
sure.
but to actually stand amongst rows upon rows of aging Parmesan, breathing in that aroma,
Yes?
that's got to be a sensory overload in the best possible way.
You're right. There's nothing quite like stepping into an aging room
Yeah.
and feeling the weight of history.
The dedication.
The sheer artistry that goes into creating Parmigiano Reggiano.
It's like a living library of flavor.
But let's not get lost in the aroma just yet.
Okay,
We still need to delve into what you can expect on an actual dairy visit.
right.
So you're well prepared to embark on this cheesy pilgrimage.
Excellent point. I'm all ears. Guide us through the typical dairy experience so our listener can start planning their cheese-filled adventure.
All right.
What does Emilia Delizia have to say about that?
Let's see. So when you were talking about those aging rooms,
Yeah.
I couldn't help but think about the actual transformation that happens
Oh, yeah.
within those wheels.
Inside the cheese itself.
Exactly. It's not just about sitting around getting old.
Right.
It's about a carefully orchestrated process
Okay.
that gives Parmigiano Reggiano its distinctive character.
I'm intrigued. Break it down for me.
Like-
What's actually happening inside those giant wheels of cheese?
It all starts with the brine.
The brine.
Yes, after the cheese is formed,
Okay.
it's immersed in this bath of salt water
For how long?
for a few weeks.
Okay.
Think of it as a spa treatment for the cheese.
A spa treatment.
Yeah. It helps draw out excess moisture
I see.
and encourages the formation of that hard, natural rind.
Ah, the rind.
It's kind of like a protective shell
Right.
that locks in all the goodness.
So the brine is like a sculptor,
In a way, yes.
shaping the cheese and prepping it for the long journey ahead.
Exactly.
And then it's off to the aging rooms, right?
Ah, the aging rooms.
So what happens next?
They're like temperature-controlled caves,
Oh, wow.
filled with the earthy aroma of maturing cheese.
Sounds amazing.
Each wheel rests on wooden shelves,
Okay.
patiently waiting for time and enzymes to work their magic.
I like that time and enzymes.
You see, during this extended aging period,
Yeah.
natural enzymes within the cheese begin to break down proteins and fats.
So that's where the flavor comes from.
This is where the symphony of flavors starts to develop.
So it's not just about time.
No.
It's about the environment, the enzymes.
Yes,
This intricate interplay of factors that create those complex flavors.
precisely.
I'm starting to understand why Parmigiano Reggiano is considered such a prized cheese.
It truly is special.
But how do they know when a wheel is actually ready?
That's a great question.
Is there some kind of cheesy alarm clock that goes off?
Not quite,
Yeah.
but they do have cheese whisperers,
Cheese whisperer.
also known as master graders.
Okay.
These folks have a sixth sense when it comes to Parmesan.
Wow.
They'll tap the wheel, listening for a specific resonant sound that indicates its maturity.
Oh, interesting.
They'll inspect the rind,
Okay.
looking for the right texture and color,
Yeah.
and they'll even use a special tool
What for?
to extract a small core.
What do they do with the core?
Aroma and flavor analysis.
It's like they're reading the cheese's diary,
You could say that.
deciphering all those subtle clues that reveal its inner life.
They really know their cheese.
So when we enjoy a piece of Parmigiano Reggiano
We're tasting time tradition.
and the expertise of these cheese masters,
All of that in one bite.
it's pretty amazing. Speaking of tasting,
Yes.
I know Emilia Delizia mentioned that you can taste different stages of aged Parmesan at some of these dairies.
You can.
Why is that significant?
Ah, the tasting. That's where it all comes together.
I love a good cheese tasting.
Tasting Parmigiano Reggiano at different stages of aging.
Yeah.
It's like experiencing a time lapse of flavor development.
Oh, wow.
You can start with a younger cheese,
How young?
maybe 12 months old,
Okay.
and notice its mild buttery sweetness. Then move on to an 18-month,
All right.
where you'll find more nutty and savory notes emerging.
Interesting.
And finally culminate with a 24-month or even older cheese,
Oh, wow.
where the flavors have deepened and intensified,
I can imagine.
often with a slightly crystalline texture
Oh, really?
that adds delightful crunch.
So it's like a journey through time,
Exactly.
each bite revealing a new chapter in the cheese's story.
I love that analogy.
I'm starting to get hungry just thinking about it. Do you have any tips for our listener on how to make the most of those tasting sessions?
Absolutely.
What questions should they be asking to really get a feel for the nuances?
First and foremost, don't be shy.
Okay.
Engage with the cheese masters.
Ask questions.
Ask them about the specific aging periods of the cheeses you're sampling.
Okay.
What are the key flavor characteristics at each stage?
Good question.
How do the flavors change as the cheese matures?
Right.
Are there any particular pairings they recommend?
That's a good one.
You're not just there to eat cheese.
Right.
You're there to understand it, to appreciate its complexity.
Okay, I'm taking notes. It's all about asking the right questions to unlock those hidden depths of flavor.
Exactly.
And while we're on the topic of getting hands-on,
Uh-huh.
I remember reading about workshops at Caseificio Rosola di Zizocca.
Oh, yes, the workshops.
What can our listener expect from those?
That's where you can really immerse yourself in the art of cheesemaking.
Sounds fun.
It's a chance to go beyond observation.
And actually,
Participate in the process.
cool.
You might get to try your hand at stirring the curds,
Okay.
shaping the wheels, or even applying the official Parmigiano Reggiano stamp.
Wow.
It's a fantastic way to connect with the tradition and craftsmanship.
That goes into each wheel.
Yes.
Okay. I am officially adding a workshop to my imaginary itinerary.
Good choice.
It sounds like an incredible way to learn and create lasting memories.
It is.
But before we get too carried away with our cheesy fantasies,
Right.
let's bring it back down to earth with some practical advice.
Sure.
The Emilia Delizia article mentions some helpful tips for visitors.
We did.
What stood out to you?
Well, they emphasize the importance of booking tours in advance,
Okay.
especially during peak season.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You don't want to miss out on experiencing these incredible dairies just because you didn't plan ahead.
Right.
A little foresight can go a long way.
That's great advice. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement and forget about the logistics.
It happens.
What else should our listener keep in mind?
One thing they stressed was the importance of being mindful of the environment.
Okay.
These are working dairies,
Right.
so it's crucial to follow any safety guidelines.
Of course.
Be respectful of the cheesemakers and their craft,
Makes sense.
and be mindful of hygiene practices.
Good point.
Remember, you're a guest in their world,
Right.
and it's important to treat it with care.
That makes perfect sense. We want to be welcomed guests, not cheesy intruders.
Exactly.
What about attire? Any recommendations there?
They specifically mentioned comfortable shoes.
Okay.
You'll be doing a fair bit of walking and standing,
Makes sense.
navigating different areas of the facility, so comfort is key.
I can imagine.
You want to be focused on the cheese,
Yeah.
not your aching feet.
Okay. Comfy shoes, check. Anything else in terms of etiquette or things to keep in mind?
I think the most important thing is to approach the experience with curiosity and respect.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. Engage with the cheesemakers,
Right.
and truly immerse yourself in the world of Parmigiano Reggiano.
Good advice.
These dairies are more than just places to buy cheese.
They're what?
They're repositories of history, tradition, and passion.
Embrace that and you'll have an unforgettable experience.
You will.
Beautifully put. You know, it's amazing how much depth and richness there is to Parmigiano Reggiano.
It really is.
It's more than just a cheese. It's a story, a culture, a way of life.
Absolutely.
I feel like we've barely scratched the surface.
We've certainly covered a lot of ground,
Yeah.
But you're right, there's always more to explore.
Always.
In the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
we'll delve into the cultural significance of Parmigiano Reggiano
I'm looking forward to that.
and leave our listener with some final thoughts
Good.
to inspire their cheese-filled journey.
Sounds delicious. Stay tuned, cheese lovers. We'll be back shortly for the grand finale of our Parmigiano Reggiano adventure.
All right, cheese lovers. We're back for the final part of our Parmigiano Reggiano adventure.
The grand finale.
And, as we've been talking about these dairies
Yeah.
and the cheese-making process,
Uh-huh.
I can't help but feel like there's this deeper layer,
Oh, yeah.
this aura surrounding Parmigiano Reggiano.
It's more than just cheese, isn't it?
Exactly. It's like it has this cultural significance that goes beyond just being delicious.
You're hitting the nail on the head. Parmigiano Reggiano is a cultural icon. Okay, now you've got me really curious.
Yep.
I know Emilia Delizia mentioned its protected status.
Right, the DOP designation.
But what makes it so culturally significant?
Well, think about it. For centuries, Parmigiano Reggiano has been made in essentially the same way,
Uh-huh.
following a recipe that's been passed down through generations.
A true tradition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It represents a continuity of tradition, a connection to the land, a way of life that's endured for centuries.
So each wheel of cheese carries a piece of that history.
Absolutely, that heritage.
It's like a time capsule of flavor.
And it's not just about the cheesemakers either.
Oh, right.
It's about the communities that have grown up around this industry.
Okay.
The shared knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
the festivals, the recipes that have been passed down through family.
So it's woven into the fabric of Italian life.
Exactly. Parmigiano Reggiano is a part of their identity.
I'm starting to see it less as a cheese,
And more as
a cultural artifact, something that tells a story about a place and its people.
that's a perfect way to put it. When you visit those dairies,
You're not just on a food tour.
right, you're stepping into a living museum of Italian culture.
You know, it makes me think about how we often take food for granted.
We do.
We focus on the taste, the texture,
Uh-huh.
but there's this whole other layer of meaning.
Deeper meaning.
This connection to history and culture that we sometimes miss.
It's easy to overlook.
Especially in our fast-paced world.
Absolutely.
But with Parmigiano Reggiano,
yes,
that connection is so strong, so palpable.
it's undeniable.
When you savor a piece of this cheese,
What are you tasting?
you're tasting the culmination of centuries of tradition,
The dedication.
the dedication of generations of cheesemakers, the essence of a region.
You're tasting history.
It's incredible. I love that perspective. It's not just about what's on your plate, it's about the story behind it, the people who made it possible.
The human element.
It adds a whole other dimension to the experience.
Food for thought.
It really is. And I think that's something our listener can really tap into during their trip.
What do you mean?
Take the time to observe, to ask questions, to listen to the stories behind the cheese.
Don't just taste it, experience it.
Exactly. Okay, before we wrap up this deep dive,
Yes.
any final words of wisdom for our listener as they embark on this culinary and cultural adventure?
Remember that every bite of Parmigiano Reggiano is a journey through time, a taste of history, and a testament to human ingenuity and dedication. Savor it, appreciate it, and let it transport you to the heart of Italy.
Beautifully said. So, to our listener, as you set off on your Parmesan pilgrimage, remember to go beyond the cheese itself. Embrace the culture, the history, the stories that make Parmigiano Reggiano so unique. Happy travels and happy cheese tasting.